Welcome to the Post Credits Podcast, where we talk about movies after the credits roll. My name is Jesse,
I'm Max.
And I'm Logan.
and today it's The Bride. I didn't have a fun intro for this one. I forgot to come up with one, but it's The Bride. We're doing Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride. This is the weekly spoiler review on Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride. This movie is not necessarily a remake, but a retelling of the story of the Bride of Frankenstein, which
Loose adaptation.
Yeah.
Pretty loose, I would say.
The Bride of Frankenstein made her first appearance in mention only in the book Frankenstein, in which the monster Frankenstein asks the Dr. Frankenstein to build a bride.
Yeah, a
of
companion.
Frankenstein,
Yeah.
a companion. And Victor Frankenstein does so, but then destroys it because he deems it too horrible. So when Universal made their own Frankenstein with Boris Karloff, and they decided to make a sequel to it, and they decided to take that thread from the book and tell a story afterwards of what if the bride came to be. And now we have a Bride movie, which is coming only a couple months after Guillermo del Toro did a Frankenstein movie.
Yeah, originally supposed to come out before, because I remember it was delayed pretty significantly.
It was delayed pretty significantly, and while I don't pretend to know exactly why. Maybe it was a combination of the strikes. I think we're running through the last couple of movies that were delayed because of the strikes even now, which is kind of crazy to think about. But it could have been that. Maybe it was that they were worried about Del Toro's Frankenstein coming out and taking audiences away from The Bride, or brand confusion, because this is distributed by Warner Brothers, and they don't like when that happens.
Yeah.
They're really tight about their brand. But this is directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal. Maggie Gyllenhaal, bit of a nepo baby, was kind of born into the industry, and unfortunately was overshadowed by her brother Jake Gyllenhaal. And although Maggie Gyllenhaal has 2 Oscar nominations, one of them was for acting, and the other for writing. She wrote her debut feature, The Lost Daughter, which also had Jessie Buckley in it.
Oh, yeah. That came out not too long ago, I don't think.
Yeah, The Lost Daughter came out in 2021, and it was apparently very good. I believe it was nominated for a couple things, but she got a screenplay nomination for that.
Yeah, the whole award ceremony was not the most memorable, I feel.
And she was a big actor as well.
Oh yeah, she was in Donnie Darko.
She was in
Yeah.
Donnie Darko
The
as
She's
Dark
also,
Knight.
as Jake Gyllenhaal's sister in that movie, which is funny because she is actually Jake Gyllenhaal's older sister, and she was also Rachel, I believe was her character's name, in The Dark Knight.
yeah, which, also Christian Bale. So, like, in a sense, this movie kind of functions as a Dark Knight reunion between
Yes.
Batman and Rachel, although
Yeah.
Rachel's behind the camera.
A Monster House. Yeah.
Yes, she was.
Oh,
in,
yeah.
Monster House.
I like Monster House.
Yeah, and she, and this movie has Christian Bale as Frankenstein's monster, which is where the reunion comes from, and then also Jessie Buckley is playing the bride, coming back from The Lost Daughter, and yeah, let's ask the question that we always do: how did you hear about this movie?
I first heard about this one right when it went into production. They shot this thing 2.5 years ago, I want to say. It was a long time ago because it was supposed to come out, I think, early last year or something like that. Because I think it was like early 24 or something when they shot this thing. But yeah, this one I was kind of following it basically since it first started production, to like seeing initial stills and trailers for it. I didn't know who Jessie Buckley was at the time. Christian Bale as Frankenstein's monster I thought was really cool casting. And I was curious to see what Maggie Gyllenhaal was gonna do as a director, even though I'm not super familiar with her work besides a couple acting roles that she's done. But I think that's where my knowledge stands. And then also, I haven't seen the original Bride of Frankenstein either, so I guess there's that also.
Yeah. I heard about this movie when we were planning a certain other episode of the podcast that we haven't yet recorded or released, so I don't know if I want to spoil exactly what it is. But in planning that episode, Max, you brought up that The Bride was coming out in 2026.
Oh yeah, I did
And-
say that.
And so I looked into it, and I was like, that's interesting. Maggie Gyllenhaal, I mean, I mostly know her through her brother Jake. I didn't really know anything about Jessie Buckley. I saw her for the first time in Hamnet last year, and she definitely wowed me with that performance. But
Oh, yeah.
at the time, I didn't know anything about it. And then when the trailer for this movie came out, I didn't watch it. I never watch trailers, but I see them in theaters because I don't really have another choice. I'm not going to plug my ears and close my eyes. But so I did see it in theaters, and I thought that the trailer that they put in theaters was just fantastic. It was so weird and interesting and cool. Like I really, really liked that trailer. So I thought that yeah, I would put this on my most anticipated because it looked really, really exciting and really, really interesting. And it crept its way into my top 5
Yeah.
for most anticipated.
Which
Number 4.
I feel like for those who are like early or like viewers of the podcast since the beginning, I think one of us had The Bride on our 25 most anticipated, like way back when.
We didn't.
We didn't.
We did not.
Maybe it was an honorable mention or something.
Possibly. We didn't mention it on the podcast at the time, but it was definitely one that was on my radar.
Yeah, I was
Back.
aware of it, but I think it had just gotten delayed or something. I don't know. I just remember like mentioning it briefly.
Yeah, I don't think that we mentioned that in the podcast. But if you're a long-time listener, you probably know more about what we say on this podcast than we do. So go back and let us know if that's the case. I don't think it is, but worth noting. Yeah, Logan, go ahead.
This is probably the least I've known about a movie up until like we actually watched it, so not much to say.
Okay, reasonable. Yeah, and then Jessie Buckley. Uh, Logan, I know you. Not Logan, Max. You've seen Chernobyl,
Yes.
and Jessie Buckley was in Chernobyl.
Yeah. But yeah, at the time, I didn't know who Jessie Buckley was.
Right. And she was in a couple other things. She was in I'm Thinking of Ending Things. She was in Men, the Alex Garland movie. But I saw her for the first time in Hamnet, and I love her performance in Hamnet. I think we can all say that.
Yeah.
She was very, very good. So, her being in this movie was definitely a draw for me.
Yeah, especially after Hamnet, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. So do we have anything more to say about The Bride, which, by the way, has an exclamation point,
Yeah.
before we jump into the plot?
I don't think so.
Okie dokie. So the movie starts with Mary Shelley. Mary Shelley, the original writer of Frankenstein. And she in this movie is also played by Jessie Buckley. Mary Shelley says that she has a story that she wanted to tell after Frankenstein, but she died because of I don't know what she died of in real life. She says that the story itself, the story of the bride that she's about to tell, was a tumor in her brain that killed her. And she's really pissed off that she didn't get to tell this story. But what she decides to do is to possess a woman named Ida, also played by Jessie Buckley, although they don't share any screen time. Who,
It'd be kind of weird if they did.
I mean, we've seen dual roles in the past.
Yeah, but like those two in particular.
Maybe. And you'll
It's like you got the author and then the mixed version of her. I feel like, I don't know.
yeah, well,
Would have been kind of weird.
she possesses Ida, and Ida lives in 1936 in Chicago. And she now has this sort of like she's slipping in and out of disassociation, and when she's within disassociation, Mary Shelley is kind of taking over, and she is ranting and ranting and ranting.
It's a very distinct way of ranting that we see throughout. It's
Yeah.
She's got like an English drawl almost. I couldn't do the voice justice on the podcast, but there's a certain
vocabulary
yeah.
or way of speaking.
I mean, she talks like she's from 1818 almost,
Yeah.
which Mary Shelley is.
Uses a lot of synonyms is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
Just rapid fire
Yeah.
quotes of things I couldn't really understand what she was saying.
Yeah, she does. She quotes a lot of classic lit in her diatribes, and also does a lot of word association. Someone will say a word, and she'll say a bunch of words that are kind of tangentially related. Someone says mate, and she says like checkmate, stalemate, shipmate, and it's like okay, interesting. Like okay, cool. And then she is talking about the various crimes of this crime boss who's in this like bar with her. That crime boss is named Lupino, and he is played by Zlato Buric. And she's making such a ruckus that these two henchmen, these two underlings named Clyde and James, Clyde played by John Magaro and James played by Matthew Maher, they push her down the stairs and she dies.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. And then we don't get a title card in this movie, but what we get is Mary Shelley saying the tagline for the movie, which includes
So fucking cringy. Holy shit.
which includes the
I hate it so
the
much.
title. She says, "Here comes the motherfucking bride." That's
It insists
the
upon
tagline.
itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
Look,
if
guys, we're so hip and cool. We use the F word when we're talking about the bride. Like,
we put it on our poster. I'm kind of more in the vein of it's kind of leans into that pretentious element that I
yeah, I
am
agree.
gonna explain a lot more as we go on with this. But
Yeah, but like that,
spoiler for my thoughts on it.
because that was even part of the trailer that didn't read right to me. I was like, really? You had to do that? It's like, oh, look how cool we are. No, I'm sorry.
I think they're pretty cool. I think it works. But
I cringed when I see the woman behind me started laughing.
and then we cut to a different place in Chicago. And in that place in Chicago, we have Frankenstein's monster, played by Christian Bale, but he calls himself, and everybody calls him Frank, basically for the entirety of the movie. And his name is Frank Frankenstein because he took Victor Frankenstein's name and has been living as Frankenstein, but then he also is living as Frank, so he's just Frank Frankenstein.
Which I guess they're playing off the misconception that his name is Frankenstein, but
A little bit, although
a little bit.
they clear it up pretty quickly because he goes into this office of this doctor named Cornelia Euphronius, played by Annette Bening.
Yeah, great actress.
Great eye, yeah. No issues with Annette Bening. And Euphronius is like the next generation Frankenstein. She is super duper interested in resurrection and what she calls rejuvenation of dead bodies.
Reinvigoration.
Reinvigoration. That's the word. Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine the PhD for that in this universe.
So, and she says like, "Oh yes, I read extensively about Frankenstein and his monster," and he's like, "Oh, that's me. I'm the monster."
He takes off his hat and his little mask, and he's got the scars.
Yeah, classic
And-
scars. This is built much more off the Boris Karloff Frankenstein monster than the one in the book or even the one in like the Guillermo del Toro movie.
But
yeah,
he's not
I would say
green.
makeup's
at
done
all.
pretty. Makeup's done pretty well. I like how they brought Christian Bale to life.
He's not green. He's fleshy.
He's not green.
Flesh colored, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I do like how they brought Christian Bale to life. The makeup's fantastic. She even she opens like part of his shirt and there's just like a hole.
With like organs.
Yeah, and we can like see his organs and she's like, "Does that
That's cool.
hurt?" And he's like, "I don't know."
Used to it.
Yeah. It's like, okay, he's got a very good immune system to be resistant to infection there, but
Is Frank getting a checkup? Like, what kind of?
well, yes, she's been very fascinated in this one specimen. And
Here,
that
let me test your reflexes real quick. Oops, your leg went across the room there. Oopsie.
Well, it's
how do we
like-
get that back on?
It's like if you're a marine biologist and a coelacanth walks into your room. Like, I think you would have some tests you want to run.
Maybe more questions than tests.
I would-
but
yeah.
I mean,
I would have more questions. I feel.
I think when it comes to looking at like a body that was stitched together from other bodies, I'd probably also want to take a look physically at the monster, see what's up with them.
mhm.
That's part of the reason that Frankenstein's like the iconography of Frankenstein sticks in the popular culture. I feel like if the Frankenstein monster walked into this room, we'd have a little bit more than questions. So I don't. I thought that was actually a cool scene, and they also got to show off all the makeup they were doing on Christian Bale, and Christian Bale as Frank pops the question, "Will you make a bride for me?" And she says no. He says, "Please, please,"
And
Out
she
of
says
no- out of nowhere, he's
yes.
getting a checkup and be like, "Hey, actually, I'm lonely. Can I have a wife?"
which is, to be fair, exactly what he does in the book.
Yeah. I like how they built this character up until this moment.
Yeah.
I feel bad for him.
Yeah, and she says, "All right, sure." And so they dig up Ida's corpse
because just because.
and they reanimate her, reinvigorate her.
Reinvigorate.
and she's still played by Jessie Buckley, so which means that Jessie Buckley technically plays 3 characters in this movie because she wakes up, she throws up a bunch of black goop, and it
Yeah.
stains her skin, and so for the rest of the movie, her entire inside of her mouth is black, her tongue is black, and she has, if you look in the poster, a little black stain on the left side of her mouth.
Iconic black stain on her cheek.
Yeah, and she doesn't remember anything. Like she remembers how to be human, which is a thing that I feel like a lot of movies miss, especially when they're doing like plots about amnesia or even like you see a lot of the same tropes in alien characters, which are when you have these characters starting from zero instead of starting from somewhere, you kind of get into some weird territory, especially if you're trying to build up a romance subplot. So she remembers how to be human. She doesn't remember anything about herself. So and Mary Shelley says also like, "Oh, I'll call her Ida until she picks herself a new name." Which kind of sets up, okay, she's going to be kind of a different character here. And she wakes up. Frank decides to take advantage of the fact that she doesn't have any memory and say, "Your name is Penelope Rogers, and we are to be married, essentially." And she says, "Okay, that's cool. Can't wait to get married." And they go to the movies. And this is a theme that kind of comes back, is that Frankenstein likes going to movies, to these movies that feature this one actor. This one actor is named Ronnie Reed. He's played by Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah. I mean, I would do that if it was Jake Gyllenhaal in a movie.
Well, that's the thing. I do that with Jake Gyllenhaal in movies. Jake Gyllenhaal is, has a solid case to be my favorite actor of all time. So, like, yeah, no, I get it. And he goes there for like comfort, and he likes those movies a lot. So he takes the bride to go, and yeah, so they go see a movie, they go to the club, they dance around, and then as they're leaving, these two people.
Oh yeah, can we talk about the club scene? Like how
Yes, go
weird
ahead.
that was. Oh
Yeah.
It was like some weird techno music going on, and all these like weird looking people dancing around. It's one of these like anachronistic plot devices that they use to convey a certain message.
Right.
And this is the beginning of that I feel a bit heavy-handed there. It was, maybe it's not the best example of it. There's definitely more clear ones as we go along, but yeah, it was just a weird vibe going on.
Yeah, and Jessie Buckley as the bride is like dancing around, getting all up on people in like weird masks. It's like
She's really getting into it.
yeah, she's getting into it. Frank is kind of watching. He keeps like he keeps ordering drinks, and he's like, "No, I'm all right." And then the waiter's like, "Well, you can't stay here all night." And yeah, they eventually leave, and
It was
then
like a bar in like the today,
yeah,
very modern.
yeah, and they
vibe.
leave, and these two people attempt to, and for the most part, succeed at assaulting the bride. And they're grabbing her, they're climbing on top of her, and Frank wrestles them off and kills both of them.
Curb stomps.
He curb stomps one of them, and he slams the other one into the wall. And they're like, "Well, now we're fugitives, so now we have to decide kind of what we're gonna do."
Someone takes a picture of like, oh yeah, I love lugging my big old camera machine around
Yeah.
from the 1930s. Oh look,
Oh, this will
here's
look.
a convenient thing to take a picture of.
Yeah, this will look great for my photography class.
Let me just
Yeah.
set up here and hit the black.
That guy's got a lot of scars
Can you
there.
folks stand still? I'm trying to get the exposure
Hey,
right.
it's like stop screaming. Yeah, his head on the concrete. Yeah, just stop it one more time. Oh yeah, that's good. That's good.
I don't necessarily know what cameras looked like in the 1930s, like just photo cameras. Forget video. Video cameras were huge, but photo cameras, I don't know how big they were. It might stand to reason that they were handheld, but I don't know. And we don't see the camera, so it's not something that I ever thought about during the movie. But they decide, all right, we're gonna run away, and we're gonna get on a train to New York City.
It turns into just a Bonnie and Clyde story at this point,
Basically,
Yeah.
with some overtones of certain things that might or might not come up later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're on this train, and this security guy, the policemen are on the train. They manage to hide out from the policemen, but then, the bride, breaks into song, and then one of the security
It was
officers.
so infuriating. I'm like, shut. Like, if you're in a seclude, like, are you not aware of the situation around you?
Evidently not, and I mean, it felt like it felt very much like a Mary Shelley thing. Mary Shelley evidently, when she possesses the bride, she has no regard for surroundings. Right, the first time that she possesses her, she gets killed because of it, and now it seems like it's going to happen again. But Frank pushes the officer out of the train.
In her defense, I would say I'd rather much listen to Jesse Buckley screaming than you know than Penelope as normal. What's her name?
I
The
don't even
bride?
remember.
The bride.
I mean, her name is. It
The
depends which name.
actor's name.
Oh, there's Jesse Buckley. There's Christian Bale.
There you go.
I mean, which character?
What?
You know the main one.
The bride.
The bride.
Jesse Buckley.
Or Ida, or
Ida.
Penelope.
Ida, yeah. She's played by Jesse Buckley.
Hold on.
Mary Shelley is played by Jesse Buckley. They're all played by Jesse Buckley.
Even
Not her, was it?
even Frank is played by Jesse Buckley, and the train was played by Jesse Buckley. It was a commentary from Maggie Gyllenhaal to
Am I
poke at
reading
Thomas
this
the Tank
wrong?
Engine.
What?
Am I reading the Google wrong?
Maybe. What's the character's name?
Julianne Ho.
Okay, yeah, that's.
Oh,
different-
that's a real person.
yeah.
Julianne Hough.
Huff as
As
bride.
Iris.
as Iris.
Or Jinx.
Yeah.
She's not the bride.
Who is she?
She was in The Bride. Who the hell did she?
She played Iris.
Who's Iris?
Huh?
Or Jinx.
But no, Iris was the what?
Wait, Jessie Buckley was in the. I
No,
thought she was just
she's-
Mary Shelley. That's what it says
What?
on Google.
No, okay.
Okay, clear this up.
So, okay, Iris and Jinx are the co-stars in Ronnie Reed pictures. When he's dancing with a woman, that woman is Julianne Hough.
Okay.
Oh, the one that's next to Jake Gyllenhaal's
Yes,
character.
the one that dances with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh,
That's
I didn't
Julianne
notice
Hough.
that. Because I saw her in the credits. I was like, who the hell did Julianne Hough play?
Yeah,
Because she was the old judge on American
So she
America's Got
wasn't
Talent.
the Penelope character?
No,
Penelope was Jesse Buckley.
I thought that was just Mary Shelley. Oh my god, the
No,
Google
no,
is lying
Jesse-
to
No,
me.
yeah,
Jesse
the
Buckley
AI,
was in
the
the
AI
whole-
generated, the AI generated.
Jesse
Mary
Buckley's
Shelley.
like in every shot of this movie.
Hmm.
No, she plays the everything.
All right, where were we?
So the two go into a movie called Revolt of the Zombies, which is a real movie from 1936. And we know it's Revolt of the Zombies because they have the poster for Revolt of the Zombies on the wall about 3 times for whatever reason.
Yeah, if you didn't get it the first time, you'll get it the other two. Yeah.
To
I'm
be
sure.
fair, I didn't catch it. I had to look it up afterwards if the
Really?
movie they were watching was real. But they're actually watching a real movie, and there's a couple in front of them. These two teenagers, and the guy is getting really all up on the girl and kissing her, and he's shoving
he
his.
do in a
people
crowded
people do
theater.
not get that intense. Well, actually,
No, they
I
do.
take that
They-
back.
they
I've
worked
seen
at
I've seen it.
AMC.
Yeah.
You worked
Come
at
on.
it. No,
Yeah.
it's
Actually, I take that back. I've seen it happen.
but like
before.
he's shoving his hands under her clothes, and she's saying, "No, stop! I don't want to do this in the theater." And he's insistent, and then the bride kind of gets in the way. Is like, "Hey, get your hands off her! She clearly doesn't want to do this." And then the
Yeah.
guy looks at her and Frank, and he's like, "Oh my god, monsters!" And they all run out of the
yeah,
theater.
very very obvious message.
Fair
very,
enough. They are monsters.
Like very obvious messaging there.
And then
Hey, you shouldn't do that. Yeah, obviously.
Thank you for the message. Now
Yeah.
I know.
And then we go to these two detectives who are on the tail of the bride and Frank. and they're played by Peter Sarsgaard and Penelope Cruz. And they're on the tail, and they find out essentially they go to this theater because they're on the trail of the murders and of the
We saw them on the train tracks before,
we
right?
saw them on the train tracks, and they found this
And there was the sheriff that went, "Oh my God, a woman detective!"
Yeah, another.
no,
There's so many instances where like there's a man character is like, "Oh my God, a woman this, you can't do that," and it's like, "Oh my God, what is Maggie Gyllenhaal trying to say?"
Yeah,
I
I wonder. I
wonder.
wonder.
And yeah, they find a Ronnie Reed clipping that Frank kept around with him. So they know that he's big into Ronnie Reed, and then they go to the theater that was just showing a movie, and everybody's running away saying, "Oh my God, there's a monster in there." And they're like, "Oh, well, I wonder where we should look for the monster that we're tailing."
I was kind of hoping the joke veered more towards, "Oh my God, there's a monster. Oh, they must be talking about the movie they just watched."
Yeah.
That would have been, that's kind of where my mind went. But
Yeah, so the bride and Frank, they go to this really fancy party to seek refuge from both the police and the mob.
less weird than the club.
It's less
fairly
weird than
normal.
Much more formal, I will say.
a fairly normal, like, high-class party, and Frank disguises himself as a waiter and just so happens to run into Ronnie Reed.
Thank God his shirt inside out looks like the other jackets, because he would have been screwed if he had holes in them.
Oh man, at least
I mean, it was good costuming, I will say, like good costuming, but
to like Frankenstein the character or the like as the in general.
like the character, cool outfits, I guess. I didn't really.
No, he made a good decision with his outfit. He was
yeah,
like,
so I had an angle, and then as I was saying, I was like, "What? I guess good outfit."
He looked.
To be
looked
fair,
himself.
I was gonna try to make a comment on the scars and how nobody noticed, but
Oh yeah, like
no,
the little.
that kind of failed too.
Yeah,
he looked in the mirror in the morning and said, "Look, if I need to go undercover as a waiter at a high class party, I'm going to be set." And you know what? He was. And
Enough.
so he runs into Ronnie Reed, and he says how much Ronnie Reed means to him. And Ronnie Reed looks at him and goes, "Well, you're just not my type." And then he turns back around. And then
Jake Gyllenhaal, how could you?
and then Christian Bale is
Turns
just
into angry monster.
He starts whining.
stomping around like a Frankenstein.
right, just like a Frankenstein. And
That was convincing. I mean, it felt like Frankenstein.
the police go to the party, and the bride holds Reed at gunpoint. And at this point she hasn't shot anybody yet.
Neither of the police, for that matter.
Yeah, nobody has. And like they were all dancing before.
Like, come on.
Somehow everybody knew the choreography.
This is Chicago 1936, and you have cops pointing at guns. Maggie Gyllenhaal, you have a very clear message to divulge. I get it, but like, could you maybe keep it consistent? Maybe say something about the cops of that era. Like, they were very hesitant to shoot any guns, like at anybody.
It's true, but also, I mean, this is kind of the equivalent of someone holding Leonardo DiCaprio in a hostage situation. I wouldn't shoot if I was between either killing Leo DiCaprio or killing someone kidnapping Leo DiCaprio, you know?
Look, like coming out of Scream 7, that's where my mind still is. So.
Yeah. Like cop characters. Keep in mind, like they were all dancing beforehand.
Well, sure, they were all dancing beforehand, and then they start dancing again, actually, because the music kicks on, the lights kick on, and they do this weird dance where it's like, the bride and Frank do these like really monstrous dances that are not especially.
Hey, 911. Who are these people?
They're not especially.
They're busting it down, monster style.
They're busting it down.
They're doing the mash.
They're doing the monster mash.
Yeah,
it's a graveyard smash.
Is this like a real emergency?
Yeah, please come. You gotta see this.
So they have these like.
Hey, where's the guy with the camera?
They have these like jerky motions that they're doing, and then all the people at the party are also doing those jerky motions as if they're being guided on strings, on puppet strings, and that's interesting. And then someone runs in and tries to stop them, and the bride shoots him. And
He didn't really run. He just like walked and was like, hey, hey, hey.
yeah, and then she shoots him. And she's really broken up about shooting him because she didn't realize that's what happened when you shot people. And yeah,
Oopsie.
and they escape again, but not before when they run outside. A police officer, the one played by Peter Sarsgaard, recognizes the bride and calls her Ida.
It just so happens to be there, yeah.
Yeah.
And then keep in mind, like,
Well,
Jesse.
he was there because of the whole everything. Like they were tailing the monsters. It makes sense for him to be there, and he recognizes the bride. So yeah, do you have something to say beyond that?
Huh?
I felt like I cut you off. Did you?
Oh
saying
no,
something?
I was just saying that like before, like when she's getting like when they're at gunpoint, like it kind of goes on like she gives this really long preachy kind of thing. where
Oh,
she's,
yeah,
like, holding
that's
the gun.
right.
Yeah,
This is
One
one of
of-
the many
one of the many
preachy
times
speeches,
preachy speeches. Yeah,
Preachy
political
speeches.
feminist messaging, and I might talk more about it by the end of the plot, but this is part of the anachronistic nature of the political commentary because it reads like third wave feminism, but it's taking place in a time where that wouldn't really have been developed as such. Like Mary Shelley being the prime example of this, advocating for whatever it is she did, and the way it read, it was just kind of obnoxious to me, pretentious, very heavy-handed, and that's probably what turned me off the most for this movie, and this little speech number being a prime example of that.
I'll also discuss when we get to the end of the movie and we're kind of discussing our thoughts a little bit more in depth. But I feel like, and this is part of the reason that this works a little bit better for me, but if you're not commenting on feminism in a modern way, then I don't see what you'd be saying with the movie at all. Because, part of the core thesis of the movie is that we have moved somewhere, progress is slow, but existent, where we can look back 50 years ago and point to specific places where we've made progress. Women can now own credit cards without having their husbands be co-signers on them, which was not a thing in America until the mid 70s. Like, so I think the idea is that like progress is being made, and I think if you're going back just for period accuracy and you're saying maybe women deserve the right to vote, it's like, well,
It was 1936. They already do have it.
well, but they have the right to vote now, and if that's what you're focusing your commentary on, then you're not doing a very interesting commentary, I feel. Because you're sacrificing saying something about the world that we live in now to say something about the world of the 30s, but none of us live in the world of the 30s. So when you're doing a period piece, you kind of have to filter it through a modern lens because there has to be something you're saying by setting it back then.
I'm just more on the side of why have the commentary at all, and I know like you probably resonated more with it than I do. Like,
yeah, and I guess same with me as
completely.
well. Because
But like, if it were set in the modern day, like a Frankenstein, that would be interesting and it would make sense, and I feel like it would have been less heavy-handed.
it's just me with messaging. Like I've said this a couple of times on the podcast. I hate being preached to.
Yeah.
And also, it's so obvious what you're trying to comment on that it turns me off so much. To where it's just like every couple minutes, it's like shoving it down your throat. I'm like, I get it. Okay,
Like,
okay,
no matter what the
okay.
messaging is, and it's just,
Yeah, I hate being preached to,
It's-
like
it's-
passionately.
it's just
Not-
uninteresting.
Not a bad message.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with what you say about the message. I just, in execution, it just reads off very off to me.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something we'll get into a little bit more. And I think this is probably the crux of our disagreement with this movie. But generally, things that people call preachy, I don't find preachy. I don't really get a sense of being preached to. And in my mind, Maggie Gyllenhaal has something to say with this movie, and saying that she shouldn't be able to say that thing with the movie, regardless, like, if you think that it makes the movie worse, that's your prerogative. But saying that the message itself doesn't belong in a movie is a little ridiculous.
When did I
I'm
say
saying-
when
No,
did I?
no. I'm not. That's not. These
Okay,
are not your
I s-
words.
if you
These
said
are not
me-
your
if
words.
you-
These are not your words.
I was about to
Absolutely
say
not.
if you're coming at me for
No,
saying
no,
that,
no, absolutely not. No, because what you're
In
saying
a
is that
period piece.
you're saying that the
Yeah.
messaging makes the movie worse, which is fair.
Not also, yeah, exactly.
in-
That's not what I'm saying.
in my mind,
That's hold back up.
What?
That's not what I said.
okay, go ahead, explain, please, because I misunderstood.
Yeah, you did.
Okay,
Because like
go ahead then.
because for me it's just like not that the messaging is bad. It's just like how it's told to me
No.
and how it's presented. I turns me off.
That's what I'm saying as well.
Yeah.
That the way the messaging is presented. I'm not saying you disagree with the message. Obviously, this is a very feminist movie, and I think all three of us are feminists here. But the way that it's executed, the way it's in the movie, makes the movie worse, and that's a fair take. In my mind, I feel like Maggie Gyllenhaal is kind of starting with the message, and when I see the passion for the message being put in the movie, I think it reads better to me. And that's also something that I think is a difference in how we see movies and will definitely be reflected in our final ratings. So, back to the plot. Lupino remember Lupino from the first scene of the movie.
I don't think anybody does.
He recognizes the bride in a newspaper and kills James for failing to kill her, and sends Clyde back out to kill her again. Then, in the meantime, the Peter Sarsgaard and Penelope Cruz character are trying to figure out where they're off to, where the bride and Frank are off to, and she discovers that every city they've been to is the main city in a Ronnie Reed picture. That's the name, right? Ronnie Reed?
Ronnie Reed.
Ronnie Reed.
Yeah.
And so she assumes that they're traveling to Niagara Falls next based on the way that they departed, where there is another, like, where another one of those movies took place. And they actually do find them, and they're on the run. The Peter Sarsgaard character explains to the bride a little bit, like, where she came from, and now the bride is kind of put off by Frank, kind of like, what exactly is happening, because he knew, like, she knows that what he's been saying is wrong, as a lie. People actually recognize her from before, and they're not using the name Penelope, which is the name Frank gave her. And then Frank says, "You're right, I didn't know who you were before. I just needed a companion." And then the Peter Sarsgaard character explains to the Penelope Cruz character exactly what was happening with the bride before she was turned. Which is that she was part of the secret agent program, the sting operation, to get into Lupino's, like, inner circle. And she learned a lot of secrets about a bunch of people, and then it started implicating the people in charge. So they cut the operation, and Ida was really insistent that the case be reopened. And so the Peter Sarsgaard character, his name is Wiles, he says, "Okay, I'll try to reopen the case if you have sex with me." And so she does, and then he doesn't. And he's incredible. He's very regretful, and he resigns and puts Penelope Cruz in charge of the whole thing, and as his replacement. There's a bit in there where he's talking about like, the idea that female secret agents are, like, not commonly done, so he wouldn't suspect them. And if only there was a world in which people were as excited about female secret agents and astronauts. He says astronauts, which is
If people were excited for female secret agents, they really wouldn't be secret anymore. That would kind of defeat the whole purpose.
Yeah. I was thinking that same thing. I was like, what?
Yeah,
Like,
it's very.
Plus the astronauts thing, another anachronism. But
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
really bother me as much.
It's very. There's no such thing as a world famous spy. You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause everyone knows who.
Right. They wouldn't be world famous, which is why
James Bond
James
would be a
Bond is the world's worst spy.
Worst spot.
But yeah, so Peter Sarsgaard hands it off to Penelope Cruz, who goes to try to track them down. He tracks them to a drive-in theater back in Illinois, so we're close to Chicago now. The police also come up, and they have this bit where they're watching the Ronnie Reed movie, and then in the Ronnie Reed movie, Ronnie Reed is replaced by Frank, and the other character is replaced by the bride. And they're talking on screen, they're talking in the car, the police come, they surround them, and
Again, hesitant to shoot their guns.
very hesitant to shoot their guns. But Clyde gets there and shoots Frank in the head. And Frank dies. Well, in theory, he dies.
Frank,
No, Frank.
And
I actually cared about him.
the bride the bride grabs his body, throws him in the car, and drives off. And
Just very casually, like, the police are just like, all right,
she's pretty upset.
we'll let her go for now.
She's yelling quite a bit in there, and she goes back to Euphronius's lab to try to revive him. And Euphronius is like, I can't revive him. What are you, crazy? And so she's just like taking measurements. But then the police get there, and
they're like, oh wait, we were gonna shoot her or something. All right, okay, go to the lab.
Right. So they go to the lab, and like all of the bullets that have been pent up within them for so long, they riddle her with holes. It's crazy.
It's very satisfying.
She and she dies on top of Frank, and then they do this thing where the detective is like, she's dead. Stop shooting. Just everybody go outside, and then I'll
stop shooting, guys.
I'll do some investigative work, as is my job. And so she goes outside, but then we get one shot where it's revealed that Clyde has been arrested for all of the various crimes he committed under the employ of Lupino. And then also there's a big electrical shock through the building, and we see the bride and Frankenstein's hands move together, and they hold hands, and we don't know if they die.
I guess.
Yeah, and then Monster Mash plays.
Monster Mash plays, yeah.
Yeah,
and then,
that's funny.
And we watch I don't know if we mentioned this, but kind of halfway through the movie, we get introduced to the Brain Attack Gang. And the Brain Attack Gang are a bunch of women who paint their faces with the same splatter that the bride has on her face, and they commit crime and acts of revolt. And in the credits, we see them apprehending Lupino.
It was so funny because the way they actually filmed the Brain Attack Gang, it turned into like stock footage of feminist empowerment video that you see on YouTube. Like it was so mismatched, like from the rest of the movie. Until that point, it just felt like, oh, here's a commercial for our political messaging, like going back to that. And it was just so I think it was during one of her speeches, one or another, but it was such a whiplash effect when they started showing that, and I can't say I root for them.
Well, the movie also doesn't put you in a lot of situations where you need to root for them, because they're very not present throughout most of the plot.
Yeah.
So yeah, they kind of show up in the middle. They show up in the middle, and then like the Annette Bening character has an assistant who appears to be a part of the Brain Attack Gang because she has the marking on her mouth. And then, yeah, they don't come back until the credits. But yeah, walking out of the theater, what do we think? I think we kind of already have a sense, but let's bring the thoughts together.
Yeah.
I know I was like, I was listing things that I did like, and then a subsequent thing I didn't like, and then did that pattern over again. I think I still have that, and I could read it out. And, okay, yeah. I liked Jessie Buckley's acting. It was pretty as Mary Shelley, less as, the other one, but...
Wait, as Mary Shelley or as the bride?
As Mary Shelley.
As Mary Shelley, okay.
No, I hated the bride. She was obnoxious. Holy. The commentary, no. I probably know my thoughts on that a little more than you've ever wanted to. The cinematography, the coloring, that I did like how the visual elements of this movie, like how they represented the bride with the red and the black, and like, the way they colored stuff. It's fun. It's like a painting. The bride herself, that's what I'll have next written on there, that you already know my thoughts. Frankenstein, him as a character, I felt bad for him when he died. I think he is a tragic character with flaws, and he's very deep in that sense, and very pretty faithful to the book, I'd say. I think they did a good job with his character development, and I was really interested in how Frank turned out in this Bonnie and Clyde situation.
Right.
It was fun. The Mary Shelley thing, it could get weird at times. I've kind of grown to it. I kind of like how whenever she got possessed, it was a fun like break from the action whenever that happened.
Mm-hmm.
The dialogue, I don't really know. It was standard, okay, I guess. Pretty good at this point, I feel. Nothing too special, except for like the Mary Shelley possessions, you know.
Right.
And then I think I wrote down the pacing. I remember I did have thoughts on it. It would like around the whole chase scene, like when they're in the car and stuff. That's kind of when it slowed down for me. Did you feel that?
A little bit.
Yeah,
I didn't feel it, but I know what part you're referring to, and I see why.
yeah.
Yeah, and the movie at that point I think takes on a little bit of like they go to a location and there's a set piece there, and they're kind of just moving around,
Moving
and it's like
around
set piece
Chicago
in
to New York to
Yeah,
the
whole
set piece in the city, set piece on the way to the city, set piece in the city.
the whole movie kind of felt like that to me.
like a tour.
Yeah. It's fair.
Yeah, I'll get
monster
into that
tour.
more when I give my thoughts.
Yeah, I guess I'll go next since I'm already talking.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
So I mean, I'll start with the things that I didn't like about this movie because by and large I thought this movie was fantastic. But some parts of the Mary Shelley possession bit, especially near the beginning, are a little bit rough.
You kind of grow to it throughout, at least for me.
The astronaut anachronism was, I think, one misstep in what I think was a generally solid way of going about the messaging. Because I don't think we needed that part to say the astronauts bit because
I thought that was that like not a mistake on.
I
their
don't
part?
think it was a mistake. I mean, think about how many editors had to go through this, and Peter Sarsgaard had to say that line multiple times through multiple takes without anybody on set bringing it up. So
you never know.
I think it had to be intentional, but I don't think it. I think it did more to take you out of the movie than it did to keep you in it,
Yeah.
which was a little frustrating.
funny.
And I didn't like that so much. The other anachronisms, like the club vibes and the things like that, I didn't think was that bad. Yeah, and then beyond that, I mean, all the performances are great. I think it was written really well. I really like how the messaging is done. I never felt like I was getting preached to, but also I almost never really do.
Yeah, I mean, messaging is subjective in movie. I mean, we've talked about
Yeah.
this a few times on
Yeah.
the podcast, but for some people,
It's
yeah.
something I'm sensitive to. It's kind of like millennial humor to me. Like
Yeah.
it's something I'm sensitive to.
yeah, because
that-
like to me, it's just like for some people, it doesn't bother them, but like for people like I guess me and Logan, it's just like it doesn't read the same. Which
Yeah.
messaging subjective. Maybe not the subject itself, but like the way it's told can certainly be subjective.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I also feel like I was glad that it never felt like the movie was talking to me. It never felt like a morality tale. It felt like an assessment of feminism, where we are, where we were, and where we're going. And I think that's a much more interesting way to do it. So there are movies that come off like morality tales, and those are the movies that can feel preachy to me. Like, this is a bad person, don't be like this person. And it sometimes that framework doesn't read to me. I didn't see a lot of that in this movie, which was good. Yeah, go ahead.
So I'll kind of give my thoughts on this one. And earlier when I've kind of made my comments, I've maybe sounded a little bit cynical towards this one. If you've been following the weekly spoiler review for a while, you know that 2026 has not been my favorite year for movies, at least in recent years, or I guess in the recent reviews that we've done. So coming out of this movie, I feel like sitting on it for a couple days now, at least as to when we're recording this one. I think the best way I can describe this one is a masterful disaster, and the way I can describe that,
I like
at least
that rhyme.
in my-
Masterful disaster.
a
It's
masterful
like
disaster.
It's like a rap
It's like
lyric.
on the one hand, this movie is an incredible, I would say, a very well done production. I think
Mhm.
Maggie Gyllenhaal does a great job of having a movie set in a different version of the 1930s without feeling too modern, but also having its own distinct style, which I really appreciated. When it comes to the two leads, I had issues with some of the characterization, but I think Jessie Buckley, certainly an actress here to stay. She's great, and she's most certainly going to win an Oscar this year. I know for one of the later podcasts when we talk about that. Christian Bale was great. Him as Frankenstein was something I didn't realize I needed when I first saw the casting, and watching this, he's great. Really like Christian Bale as an actor, and the two definitely have a Bonnie and Clyde esque chemistry. And beyond that, production design was fantastic. I really liked the makeup, especially on Christian Bale. Costumes are really well done. However, this movie, and weirdly, I've talked about the messaging a few times. That's weirdly not the thing that bugs me about this movie. What bugs me about this movie is that on a plot level, on a story level, and at some points, not really faster, slow pacing, but in some of those regards, this movie is kind of a train wreck. And to me, it feels like Maggie Gyllenhaal has so many ideas, and she clearly has a message that she wants to give out.
Clearly.
And instead of trimming it down, finding the best ones to put in this movie, it feels like she took every single one of them and just crammed it into this movie. Where so many of them either feel underdeveloped, underutilized, or ones that just kind of felt like were glossed over just because she was excited about putting them in the movie. You have, Jessie Buckley as essentially three different characters. You have her as Penelope, you have Ida, and then you have the Mary Shelley aspect where she's kind of talking in her head. You have the guy from the beginning who comes back later and gets shot in the head. You have the brain dead. What were they called? The brain dead group.
The brain attack.
Yeah, the brain attack group. They're introduced once, and then we don't see them again until quite literally after the credits roll. Well, at least before this podcast. And you have Jake Gyllenhaal who shows up in one scene and then goes away. And then Peter Sarsgaard comes and goes, and then randomly has a relationship. And then so much that I mentioned, that's not even half of it. Like there is so much going on in this movie, and the way the scenes are stitched together just feels like set piece after set piece, and they're wandering and they're going over here and they're going over there. And when I kind of compare this to other movies I've seen, like in a sense, it kind of feels like Joker 2 mixed with Poor Things, except Bride of Frankenstein-esque, which is weird to say, but it's frustrating because there's so much in here, and it's not like Maggie Gyllenhaal has bad ideas, and it's not that this is a terrible message where I'm just like, I don't know why you're communicating this. It's just like, it was really sloppily put together in my mind. I don't think that there's so much in here that I felt was undercooked. It felt like she kind of, weird analogy, but it felt like someone standing in front of like a dartboard with a bunch of darts in your hand and just like throwing them all haphazardly, seeing which ones would land on the dartboard. And for me, only about like 2 of them stuck. And that was kind of my experience, where it's just like, I wasn't bored watching this one. I know that was a problem with some of the movies that we've watched. But yeah, I wasn't bored. Narrated with the production, performances. I did think Jessie Buckley's character was a little annoying. Especially like parts that
It
kind of
reminded me of Tank Girl, kind of. If
Little
anyone's
bit.
ever watched that,
Yeah,
like us, unfortunately, it's a lot like that in my mind.
yeah. And then final thing I'll say, because I know I've been talking for a little bit
No,
now.
go ahead.
But this is a movie where everything that Logan said, everything that Jesse was saying, or like Logan said that was a little bit more criticisms, and everything that were most things that Jesse, or I guess most things for both that were criticisms and praise. This is kind of like the first movie that I watch, especially one that's inherently really polarizing. I look at both, I'm like, yeah, both, yeah, I don't disagree with either of them. But watching this movie, it's like, it's frustrating because for everything I like, there's something I don't like with it. So it's like, how do I rate this? How do I recommend this to people? I don't know. And that was kind of my experience walking out of the theater.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I don't know if I totally agree with you on some of the story things. I did feel like a lot of the things they introduced were significant. But no, like I get what you're saying, and I know a lot of people. I've been reading like the critical reception to this movie, and a lot of people agree with that, and feel like it was very disjointed, which is ironic because
Yeah.
it's a bunch of pieces that are put together,
Almost
and
like
they don't make something coherent.
It's like almost like a Frankenstein's monster. Excuse my voice
oh my
crack.
God.
Oh my goodness. Excuse my voice crack.
Whoa, did you
Oof.
did you borrow your voice box from a prepubescent teen?
Quick, everyone do a voice crack. Jesse, it's your turn.
I don't think I can fake a voice crack.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, there we go. We all got one in there.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I've seen people comparing it to the structure of a Frankenstein monster, of it being put together from various parts and then not coherent.
I
which
bet
is an
whoever
interesting comparison.
makes those jokes thinks, bet no one's ever thought of this before.
I'm gonna have the highest liked review on Letterboxd.
It's like, wait a minute, I have an opportunity here. It's like, do you? Or it's like, are you going to have the same thought process as everybody else?
Yeah, then you scroll through and it's like, wow, it's just like a Frankenstein monster.
Not
Oh,
like
it's
we're
just like a
any
Frankenstein
different.
monster.
I don't want to act
No,
pretentious,
stop.
but yeah.
Yeah.
We're just as stupid as the rest of them.
Yeah.
No, and I mean, I think that there's a lot of interesting thematic material, which if you're a fan of this podcast, you know that resonates with me. You know that is interesting to me. You know that really does factor into how I think about movies. is what they're about, what they're saying. And I think that I'm not going to sit here and dissect every part of it. I think that's boring.
Here's a
Um,
question for you.
Like same thing with me, like dissecting the plot. Like it also be boring. Like no one wants to hear me talk about that.
I'm not right. So I'm not going to sit here explaining the symbolism and the meaning of everything, but I feel like everything in there is significant, and Maggie Gyllenhaal has something really, really interesting on her mind, and I do think that this is a really, really good way of showing it.
Yeah. To where there's a sense to where. Oh, sorry, were you gonna say something?
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna ask you, like before we saw this, did you think either of us would have liked it?
No.
No.
No, you watch the trailers and it looks crazy. And I mean, I was talking to Max before, and I knew Max had some reservations. There were ideas floating around that it would be a musical, which it wasn't a traditional musical, but there's a lot of they break into dance quite a bit.
It could have used more of that.
And so I mean, seeing the trailer and getting a sense for what the movie is about, and I don't think the trailers necessarily missell the movie. They sell the vibe of the movie pretty well, if not the exact content.
Yeah, which kind of like I said earlier, I thought stylistically it's really well done.
Right.
I think that's one thing Maggie Gyllenhaal really nailed.
Yeah, but looking at it, it felt like a very art house. Like I wouldn't be surprised if this lands in the Criterion Collection in 15 years kind of movie.
Huh.
So did I think that you were gonna like it? Probably not. I didn't anticipate necessarily that the messaging would be so heavy-handed and that would turn you so far off from it. But I'm not surprised that that's the case. So even if that wasn't my exact prediction, it was certainly
feeling there.
It was certainly in the range of possibilities for this movie.
Yeah.
And I typically like when you're a little heavy-handed with your metaphor, because it does feel like you're kind of, screaming at a brick wall, kind of trying to break through the noise, and especially when there is a lot of stylistic noise in a movie like this, and that all coheres together to create this point, even if there are moments at which the point feels obvious. In my mind, it never felt over dramatized and was never treated with more or less weight than it deserved. And I think that's a hard balance to strike, and I respect Maggie Gyllenhaal for striking it. I think she succeeded.
Yeah. And I will also say this movie is very bold. Like, there is a reason this movie is being called the most polarizing movie of the year, and probably will be for the remainder of the year. I don't see much movies that will come out that'll probably be more. I mean, save for maybe Iron Lung that came out earlier, but I think this movie's definitely a lot more in terms of just where people fall on this one. But yeah, it's certainly a bold, ambitious, unique take on The Bride, and there's part of me that, like I know you were saying this, like, oh, I don't know if like you guys are gonna like this one or whatever, but like I put this one on my most anticipated list.
I was
at the beginning
surprised.
of the year. Yeah,
I was surprised.
this one made my list. I was curious about it.
It was unique, I'd say.
Yeah, it looked interesting enough. I was curious about it, like seeing set photos and the fact that Maggie Gyllenhaal was directing a movie like this. Obviously I'm a big Universal Monsters fan, just like say Jesse also is.
Yeah.
See, I was curious to check this one out, and the things that I didn't like about it was kind of, for me, I was disappointed in what I didn't like about it, like the way the movie was structured.
Right.
It's just somebody who actually is a stickler for that. It was really disappointing, and I think that's the part that I kind of left thinking about the most.
Right.
Were things that I'm just like, inherently she has a lot on her mind, and in a sense that's a good thing. Like, I don't think the message that she's trying to tell is a bad one. I don't think that many of her ideas are really interesting. Like the meta stuff I think was kind of interesting, but I feel like to balance all of this movie needed to be way longer than it is, because I feel like there's some things that just you come and go or not fully explored. There's characters, like, if you really maneuver, you could maneuver around not having Jake Gyllenhaal in this movie.
I wouldn't say you would have it longer, just like balance out who appears on screen and how you flesh out which character. Because for me, like how Frankenstein was handled, I left wanting more, but I think that's more of a good thing, because if I got more, it probably would have been worse than it was. But
Yeah.
I still would have wanted to see less of, the bride herself, the titular character of the movie. Ironic, I know, but
Yeah.
we could have seen more of the doctor, what's her face, and maybe the mafia, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe the doctor.
On with the exception of maybe the Brain Attack Gang, I think that the things that, in my mind, the things that Maggie Gyllenhaal gave the most screen time to are the things that I found the most interesting about the movie, which is not something that movies always strike. So I certainly see what you're saying. Um, and yeah, I do think I do kind of wish we got to see the brain attack gang more. That's where I agree with you on
Yeah.
that.
I'm just like, I
Mm.
wish some of these were developed because they feel both underdeveloped, and to me, the movie as a whole felt underwhelming, which is unfortunate because I really wanted to like this one.
Yeah. Do we have anything more to say about The Bride before we move on?
Not immediately, no.
No.
Okay. Um,
Is it
then
time?
I guess it's time for some ratings. Yeah.
Rating.
I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna give this one 4.5 out
Four
of
and a half.
5. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Solidly in the middle of 4 and 5. It's very very good. It's probably closer to a 5, but there's a couple key things that hold me back from saying this is a 5. It is probably one of, if not the best movie I've seen all year, though. So I don't think we've had a true 5-star quite yet.
Yeah.
But that's where I'd put it.
I'll give this a 2 on the low end, maybe a high 1. I do recognize the things enough to give some praise to it in the more visual sense, the more aesthetic sense that I typically like for these kind of productions. Like, it was well produced, it was well acted for the most part for some characters, but other than that, it didn't really resonate with me.
Yeah. I've been toying around my rating for a little bit. I think for now I'm gonna give this a like mid to high 2.5.
Okay.
I think is where I'm gonna land on it right now. In a sense, like this movie is so bold and unique, and to where like even though this movie didn't really work for me, I don't think. I kind of respect the fact that Maggie Gyllenhaal took a risk. It didn't pay off for me, but for some it did. But kind of like a movie like Iron Lung, like there's a lot of I want to see more auteurs take risks, but I just hope it's not the path of just like they're so not on my wavelength. But for other people that love this movie, like Jesse obviously
More
being one of
power
them,
to you.
like yeah, I think it's great that this movie is resonating with people. I wish it resonated with me, but I give it 2.5 on this one. It's going next to Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die as being like early contenders for disappointing of the year.
Yeah, and more power to you. Also, I think it's important to recognize both what we do like and what we don't. And even though I'm sorry that it didn't resonate with you so much,
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
because there's
it's still a worthwhile contribution to the discussion about the film.
yeah,
Yeah.
because even the things I talk about that I liked, like I wasn't joking. Like I really liked a lot about this movie, but there's also some things that I was like, I don't, not quite.
It's weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess wasn't on my wavelength.
Oh, don't we have a special?
Yes. So before we jump
Yeah.
into letterboxed plugs, we have a comment.
Oh, do we?
All right.
Yes.
What video was this under?
This video was under our weekly spoiler review for Scream 7.
And who by?
This was by @StormsIsHereV1, first time commenter.
Nice. Welcome to
well,
the show.
Welcome.
Thank
yeah.
you for commenting. And let's see what they say. I think the musical thing is a callback to Scream 2 and its ending. I don't know. I haven't seen this new film, but that's my assumption. And that only further cements the point that they seem to not care about making a good movie and just made a sequel for the sake of it, shoving in cameos and plot points from older movies as a way to remind you of better movies. Yeah, this film just sounds awful.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot they could have done with another Scream, especially in the age of gore fests like Terrifier or some of the newer VHS films, more psychological thrillers, etc. You could have done a commentary on these, or hell, you could have used the chance to demonstrate how a long-running horror franchise could still work. And yet it sounds like they made it another dumb horror sequel. What a sad waste.
Yeah.
I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I think regarding the musical thing, just quickly, I believe that what they're talking about is
Musical.
the McKenna Grace kill.
Oh, like the
Oh,
stage play.
The stage
thing.
I was
play,
gonna
and
ask.
'cause
Yeah,
the
yeah.
climax of Scream 2 occurs at a like at a high school theater as well.
oh,
That's
yeah,
where the
that's
killer
right.
reveal is.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
if there's like a Fluffy the dog thing in Scream 2 because that was one of our big issues with the Scream 7 theater kill.
Yeah, I don't. At least off
Fluffy
the
the
top of my
dog.
head, I mean, that's not something that I would remember from a Scream movie.
Right, but and I hope that's not the case because I think that that kill is one of the better kills in the movie. It's like one of the best parts of the movie is that kill
It's gory enough.
because it's probably the goriest kill in maybe in the whole franchise.
yeah.
Yeah,
If that is
Like for
if
a
that's
franchise known for being a little more reserved in their kills.
right, Ghostface carries a knife for most of it. It's basically it. So yeah, it would be frustrating to learn that it was just a reference to Scream 2, and that we were just supposed to watch that whole scene like, oh my god, it's
Yeah.
just like Scream 2.
Because like the whole movie kind of felt like I said this in our Scream 7 review, but the movie felt like that's the type of movie that Scream pokes fun at, of like slasher movies like that. And I feel like even with the firing of Melissa Barrera, you get desperate when you say Matthew Lillard's coming back. Of course, people are gonna be like, that's gonna capture attention. It's both good and also bad.
Right.
And you watch the movie, and obviously it didn't work very well. And it's just like that's desperation, and that's one of the things that turned me off about that movie upon its initial like maneuvering.
Right.
And I think there's an interesting point there of like commenting on how gory horror movies have maybe gotten. I think Terrifier would be kind of an interesting angle, just because those movies are notoriously known for being really gory and like pushing it way too far. But I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer for the franchise. I don't know what you would comment on, but that's actually an interesting angle that I didn't think about. In terms of like the current state of horror.
Right. Yeah, I think that's what Scream 5 and 6 do so well, and Storms is here. Given what you're saying about the Scream movies and how disappointed you are by what we're saying about Scream 7, I think you might really like the radio silent Scream movies, Scream 5 and 6.
Yeah,
because
I would agree.
In Scream 5, they name drop the Babadook. They're discussing the current state of horror. They're able to do a lot of those things because it's been time since the first movie and since the Wes Craven era. They don't necessarily poke fun at Terrifier in particular, but they're still doing things like that, and also they're showing how an old series can still work in the modern day, because we're looking at, again, these small transgressions. Ghostface wields a gun in Scream 6. The character in the cold open of Scream 5 survives. Like, these are minor transgressions in the text of the franchise that those two movies are going against, and that makes it feel really, really fresh. And that, I think, is really, really smart in those movies. So if you're looking for a movie that does that, I think Scream 5 and Scream 6 are the ways that you want to go.
Yeah, or at least prove that like the franchise has still got it. Especially with Scream 5's commentary, I thought was actually really well done. And especially like if you're gonna bring the Scream franchise back, I feel like if you're gonna comment on the legacy of horror, I think that's the way to do it. But yeah, I would agree that if you're disappointed by what we are saying about Scream 7, or if you like, I'm assuming you watched that episode or listened to it, I should say, then I would definitely give Scream 5 and 6 a watch if you haven't, because I feel like those fixed a lot of, or at least those fix a lot of the issues that this movie has. And like this whole movie just felt like a desperate cash grab.
Yeah.
That I'll never forgive Paramount for firing Melissa Barrera. I just think that really killed the franchise, I feel like.
Yeah.
And they're making slop. And Scream 7, there's no commentary. The killer reveals, like, I won't go into it too much in depth because there's an episode out there, but kind of echoing what we were saying before about that whole thing.
Yeah, and I think, Storms is here, your perceptions of Scream 7 based on what we're saying are accurate.
Yeah,
very accurate.
Absolutely, I would agree.
So yeah, and it sounds like that's not something you're interested in, and it's not going to be something you're interested in. So yeah. Thank you for commenting.
Yeah, thank you for the comment.
Thank you very much for commenting.
If you're listening to this episode, thank you for the comment.
And if you are listening to this episode and you didn't comment, well, now's your chance. Comment on any one of our episodes if you have something to say about what we discussed, what we didn't discuss, if you think we got something wrong, if you think we missed something, or if you want to tell us a fun fact. The comment section is right there for you. Type out a comment, put it under the video. We'll discuss it in the next episode of the Weekly Spoiler Review. Letterboxd plugs. I am Threnv on Letterboxd. That is THRNV like the sin. By the time you're listening to this, I will have a review out for The Bride where I might do some more analysis into themes and symbolism if you're interested in that kind of stuff. So definitely check that out. And if you're not interested in that kind of stuff, I will also have reviews up for all 50 movies, including shorts, nominated for an Academy Award in this year's cycle. So check it out.
Thanks. Can't wait to see that. My Letterboxd plug is at MJ Spiegel. That's MJSPIEGEL. I currently do have a review up for The Bride as this is going up. I'm trying to get better with letterbox reviews. This one's definitely a little longer than some ones I've had in the past, kind of echoing some of the things I've said on today's episode. So feel free to check that out. And also go ahead and follow the Instagram if you have Instagram. It's a post underscore credits podcast, all lowercase. We have like announcements of upcoming episodes, some like teasers, little skits for things that we're working on in the future. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. It was a project that was long in the making, and very happy that it's finally out there for people to see.
And you can find me on Letterbox at Invaded Films as I invaded films. And yeah, I've been trying to get better also with my movies, at least the ones that we review on the podcast. And I do have some of them, maybe all of them, most of them up on my account with my ratings on them, but nothing like typed out. I will probably get to that sooner or later. But yeah, please check it out.
Yes, please do. It's great. It's a fun place to hang out at I Invaded Films. Um, and yeah, I suppose with that all being said, roll credits.